First of all, let me set up the world. The world is a place where the extraordinary is ordinary. So monsters live among us. It's not an apocalypse. It's a world just like ours, just with werewolves, zombies, and vampires. Are they could be by you on the bus, and you know they're there. Nobody's living in secrets. This was a world where everybody kind of evolved together.
Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where I interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 482. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we're excited to have back with us the internationally acclaimed and celebrated comic book writer and game designer, Mark Maia. Mark.
Hey, thank you for having me on. I feel like this is going to be our third podcast tonight because you asked me a question and I'll just talk for 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah, and this is exciting because you were on about over a year ago. I just checked. You're on March 2024, and you were talking about your so-called living. And now you are, as of this recording, you are wrapping up your final Kickstarter for My So-Called Living, where you're going to have an entire collection of books 1 through 8, correct?
Yeah. So 1 through it's the Kickstarter was for the last 4 books of the last 4 books of the series, which wraps up Jack's story.
Gotcha.
And and you're going to get a free collector's box, which you see rotating here. So if you get any of the physical tiers, you get this handy little collector's box. The art on the box itself is actually not final. The final art is being created right now by Mark. Actually, it was created by Marco. He's finished. I need to set it up because I'm designing the spine of it. So it says So-Called Living. It's got our names on it. But yeah, the project completed, it finished, it funded in 10 minutes. But what's good about being on the show is I'm doing a Fund My Comic. So I'm doing a victory lap on Fund My Comic. I'm just waiting for them to approve it. It should have been approved already, but I think I messed up. I submitted, and then I think I went back into the edit mode. I don't think I changed anything, but I think that kind of messed up the whole approval process. So I'm waiting for them to approve it. So as of November 19th, which is tomorrow, it should be live on Fund My Comic. And on Fund My Comics can be a little different than the Kickstarter, because the Kickstarter was get the last 4 books. If you've missed it, you can get books 1 through 8. If you just missed the second one, you can get books 3 and 4. On Fund My Comic, it's just going to be 4 tiers. The digital 1 through 8. There's going to be the standard 1 through 8, the elite 1 through 8, and the sex pot edition 1 through 8.
I remember you did that last time. You telling me about the sex pot editions. Yeah,
that's these the obligatory sex pot editions.
Yeah,
and because if this is the first time anybody's listening to this, the reason we have the sexy editions was because on Kickstarter, it's if you want to have a successful comic book, you have to have a sexy option. That was kind of what I was the mentality I had. And although you notice that this tier only sold 5, it wasn't the most selling tiers, but if you look at the ones that are 1 through 8, we sold of the sex pots, we sold a few of those, and we sold quite a few of the all-ins, which includes the sex pots. So it's not like the sex pot editions don't do well. It's just all the covers do so well. Here's this one. There's 13.
Right.
So there's 13 backers for the all-in. And that's all the sex pots, all the elites, all the standards.
Right.
So,
and so remind people too that might not have seen the episode that you were on a year and a half ago. Tell people what My So-Called Living is all about.
Yeah. So, So-Called Living is about a guy named Jack who gets. First of all, let me set up the world. The world is a place where the extraordinary is ordinary. So monsters live among us. It's not an apocalypse. It's a world just like ours, just with werewolves, zombies, and vampires. They could be by you on the bus, and you know they're there. Nobody's living in secrets. This was a world where everybody kind of evolved together. So in this world, we're normies. That's what we're called. So Jack, who's a normie, gets turned into a vampire, and his life gets turned upside down. And in the beginning, it's just silly little things. So the first problem he comes across is he tries to go home, but he can't because there's nobody to invite him into his own apartment. And there's like a no vampire clause, so he can't come in. So he's homeless. He's a homeless vampire. That's the first thing that happens. Then he ends up sleeping in an alley. He wakes up in the day because he's used to waking up in the day, and he just walks out into the sun and catches on fire. Then then he tries to eat something. He can't eat regular food. But this is not the terrible thing because he's living in a world where you can go to the cafe and order a caffeinated blood coffee. So
Right.
like you can it's a world that services to you, but he's not used to it because that's not hasn't been his norm. So in the beginning, his problems are trivial and they're kind of humorous, and he calls on his friends for help because he's trying to get his life back together. And while he's trying to put his life back together, the mob gets wind of this new baby vampire in town, and they're very interested in him, and not in a good way. So they start hunting him down. So unbeknownst to Jack and his friends, while he's trying to put his trying to put his life together, he's being hunted down by the mob, and he has no idea. So as the story progresses, they get closer and closer and closer. And if you see the cover of book 4, there's like a giant this giant fight, and on that's actually this cover right here. It's this cover right here. So on that, I'm trying to see, it's got a reflective sleeve on it. There you go. I'm trying to get it right. So this is a big scrap, and this is like the first time that the mob and Jack really start, like they collide. Their stories start
Right.
touching tips. You know what I mean? Like they're really close. And the more the story goes, the closer all those events come in. So you got Jack, you got the mob, their stories are getting closer together. There's the vampires that made Jack. They have they have this story, this relationship with the mob and why they made Jack to begin with. And that'll all be revealed in these last 4 books that I just funded on Kickstarter. And that like as I mentioned, you can get 1 through 8 on Fund My Comic, which will be live as soon as November 19th. And you can get the entire set in the collector's box. But one major thing is that in this world where all these monsters exist, the things people are mostly concerned with are the bunny issue. So there's like this global care conference, and they get together and they talk about the bunny crisis. And there's this huge bunny problem on this planet, in this world, that everybody that is in the world knows about it, but they don't come out and talk about it. There's not like a whole lot of exposition to discuss it or anything. You just kind of have to learn about it secondhand. You hear like they make a little comment there and comment there, like let the bunnies have it, whatever, and little events happen throughout. So you kind of have to piece it together of like this background story. But even the bunny situation is going to collide with Jack's story and the mob story, and it all comes into one. And I actually shared this image on my Instagram, which was a rough that Marco drew. Marco's the artist, Marco Leone. He drew this concept. It's one of the panels, and it's like this wave of bunnies, and it's like you got three of our characters just like booking it from this wave of bunnies that's coming out. So you never see the bunnies do anything bad, but wherever they leave, well, like if you see bunnies, you look away and you come back, they're gone, and there's just like chaos in their wake, and you don't know what happened. It's kind of like Batman. You know, Batman, like the car passes by and all of a sudden Batman's gone. That's how the bunnies are. Like you don't know how they get around. You just know they're like how did 100 bunnies just disappear, right? Like where'd they go? And everybody's afraid of them. So yeah, you learn more about them. There's like there's a series of panels, and I think it's book 4. It doesn't give anything away in the story, but it's like you see the guys walking down the street, and in the foreground there's this whole it's the foreground is just an event that's happening while the guys are talking in the background. And there's like this drunk guy walking up to his car. He gets out his keys and he opens his door. And when he does, the interior light comes on and the car's just loaded with bunnies. And he's just like, the look on his face, like, oh my God. And then when we see that panel again, the door's closed, everything's gone, the guy's gone. You're like, what happened? Right. And then this truck comes out of an alleyway and the light lights up the interior of the car. The bunnies are gone, but there's just like blood and the guy's face up against the mirror, like he's dead. And there's just blood all inside the interior of the car. And it's just like, what happened? And that's what the deal is. At the beginning of issue 2, Jack wakes up surrounded by bunnies and missing a finger. and he's just freaked out. And then there's one part where he's got to make a choice: go out into the sun, which is deadly for a vampire, or hang out in this alleyway with all these cute bunnies. And the bunnies never look, they're always like, they don't ever look violent. They're just like, right. And so he chooses the sun. So that kind of tells you a little bit about, like, if a vampire chooses to hang out in the sun rather than, or take his chances in the sun rather than an alleyway full of cute fluffy bunnies, tells you something about the bunnies. So anyways, that's a whole, like, wraparound story. Like, we took quite a flight through that storyline.
Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. And thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. Last time you were on, you're mentioning too that you were a game designer, and you also on your YouTube channel you actually do review board games.
Yes.
So the inevitable question is My So-Called Living going to have a board game version of it?
Yeah, no. And that's because, like, the art style of So-Called Living was very specific. I was looking for something that did that's very specific, but and it fits my story perfectly. It fits the writing style that I used for this book perfectly. It's got this it feeds into sarcastic humor, but I have no interest myself in playing a board game that looks like this.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the kind of game I want to design versus the kind of board game I want to design versus the kind of art that this kind of leans into. They don't match up. You know what I mean? There's a bit about, like, how a story is told and how it's displayed. There's, like, the visuals that kind of go along with it, and they have to sync up. And I found that was true for the comic book. And I feel like the best stories I've read, there's kind of this harmony between the writing and the art. And I feel like for board games, it needs to be the same thing. There needs to be this kind of harmony between the experience, the rule set, the story, if there's a story, and how it's presented.
Right.
So,
but because you know a lot about board games. I mean, is there a market for a board game that would, for So-Called Living?
There might be. Like, it's if you look at the more popular games that are out there, the most common popular games, they don't look like So-Called Living. The more popular games that look like a comic book art style that is popular is usually things that are like Marvel and DC based, but then that's selling because of Marvel and DC, right? Like, but Marvel Legendary is a card game / board game that's amazing. I love Marvel Legendary is one of my favorite board games, and that's a game that's like, it's good and it's Marvelous. And the DC deck building game I like too. I don't think it's as good as Marvel Legendary, but I like them both. So, and I guess there is a market for that, but I don't know if I'd want to design a game that would do that. And the fact that So-Called Living is a bunch of unknowns makes it a little harder.
Right.
So it's difficult. Even Invincible has a card game. But would Invincible do as well if it wasn't Invincible? If it was just like Man in Cape card game? Like, I don't know. I don't know if it would. And again, it's kind of like, yeah, there might be an oddball one there that I'm forgetting about or I haven't seen that's done really well. But based on all the games I've played and seen and reviewed and done work for, there's not a lot of them that look this way and do well. So
what would you see as next steps then for So-Called Living? Because you've created a pretty good established, like, world building exercise with this.
Yeah. So this, when I, like, on the Kickstarter, I said this is the final chapter. So these 8 books do wrap up Jack's story, and then I can move on to the next story. And I've already dropped tidbits of, like, not the events, but characters that you will see in future stories.
Right.
So there's some characters that pop up in there's a character that pops up in issue 6 that is there for like one panel and then shows up in one panel in issue 8. But that's going to be, that character has a story it's like a teaser. And then there's a character that plays a small part, which I don't want to ruin anything. They've already kind of showed up in the first four. They play a small part. They also have bigger. I have a bigger story for them. I have backstory for so many characters, and there's characters that you've seen that they have quite a large backstory that I haven't mentioned at all, but I already have planned. So the world of so-called living will continue. Who survives or who is around still after this story wraps up, that's to be seen when everybody gets their Kickstarter. Because I don't want to ruin anything. But yeah, the world will continue. But one thing we're going to do is we're going to put together a kids book.
Okay.
And what I got to nail down is how young I want to go. So there's going to be a kids book in the so-called living universe. So there is an event that I've already seeded in issue 6 that kicks off the kids book. And then there is an event that happens at the end of the kids book. It's kind of like an after the credits, like after the story's over, we're going to have an extra panel. I already have this planned out. And it's going to lead into the events of book 8. So basically the kids book takes place between book 6 and 8. The events of book 6 and 8. And so yeah, I've already planted those seeds in the script. Marco's already drawn some of it. He has no idea. He doesn't need to know. I was like, just do it like this. And if I asked him to do something out of the ordinary, he stopped asking why. He's just like, okay. I trust it's gonna go somewhere. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. And we want to do a kids book because when we go to cons, like I'm in cons in London, Ontario, it tend to be smaller than like Toronto.
Right.
Where's where I'm from. But I've moved to London, so I've been just doing what's local. Anyways, our table does well compared to other indie comics at the con, right? So we're always, I think, one of the top performing tables at cons, which is great. But I think we have a really good looking kind of professional product, and it's been getting really good word of mouth. So that's excellent. And even then, even though we're doing well, I'm never too impressed with how it is. Like, I was like, is it really worth doing the cons? I could just give these books away for free. But the main thing is, we have nothing for kids. That's what I was trying to get at. Kids come to our table. I was like, this is not really a kids book, so I wouldn't recommend it for children at all because there's swearing in it. It's not like there's nudity and there's not a lot of gore, but there is there's no nudity ever. There's even if there is, it's like Austin Powers nudity where like the bits are covered, so you never see anything. So we want to have something at the table where kids can buy. So I want to have a kids book, something that parents can pick up and be like, hey, here you go. And then maybe if they like it, they're like, the parents will be like, I'm interested maybe they'll be interested in the adult version. I say adult version, but that makes it sound pornographic. It's the rated PG version, PG-13, right?
Now, so with that said, because I mean, you're extremely creative, and you have tons of ideas. At what point do you pivot away and actually work on another different kind of IP that you've been stewing on?
Yeah, I'm kind of always have everything going at once, and I try to pull back and give things their so I have like a list of things, and then the priority right now is so-called living. Make sure that gets all wrapped up and done, and Marco gets the final pages done. It's off to the printers. Like that's the main project. So when I have downtime on that, because the scripts are written, so when I have downtime on that and I'm waiting for pages to come in, or I'm waiting to hear back from the printers or whatever that is, then I go on to the next priority. And right now the next priority is I'm designing a toy line, or like a toy that I'm starting with my first one for so-called living, and it's a plushie.
Okay.
So I'm working on that, and then like I'll go into the kids book. I'm also designing a video game, so it's all like prioritized. And once I get the book done, which is pretty much done, the plushie won't take much time. There'll be a few back and forth with the manufacturer, so that'll be a short one. So I try to get the small ones kind of like out of the way. Then I'll be kind of bouncing back and forth between the kids book and my video game design document. So I've started working on a video game concept. So I've started a video game company before, and I've been kind of like I've left the studio and been kind of freelancing, doing my own thing for a while, and I'm going to look at starting another company again soon, probably next year. But I'm just getting all my ducks in a row. I'm making sure I have a solid game design. I know people who can. I've been around in the video game industry for almost 26 years now. It'll be 26 years at the end of the year. So I know a lot of people. So that they're gonna help me out, kind of put something together. And yeah, I've always got something going on. I'll never be bored. I am ready for retirement anytime. So, but I'll always be doing something. I doubt I'd ever just sit and do nothing, because there's so
Right.
much I want to create. I just love creating. I've always done that, and I think part of that is I was raised a lot by my grandmother. In She lives with my aunt, and they had nothing there. They had no toys for me at all. So I used to play with a jar of buttons. So I'd have to make up games with buttons, with a jar of buttons, and that's what I played with. And if I could, I'd sneak out and play with some kids outside, and I'd come up with games for the kids. So that's my whole life has been kind of coming up with games and telling stories and entertaining other kids. That's what I've been doing, which is funny because I was the one entertaining, but I had the least amount of entertainment things. Right? Like as I got older and I started staying at home more with my parents, because they were working all day. So when I was a kid and I was going to school, I go to school near my aunt. I'd be staying with her through the week, and I would only be home on the weekends. And my aunt never had toys for me. She never bought me anything. So she just thought as long as she kept me alive, she's done her part. So I wasn't spoiled by her in any way. So anyways, I had to get creative. So I was like forced to be creative because I didn't have much. Not that my parents didn't have much. Like, we're middle class family. It's
Right.
just I didn't have much because they didn't give me much. So
Right.
it's not like they couldn't, they just didn't.
Right.
So the old European, Portuguese family, I think they were just like, you're fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. They never took me to trips to Disney. They would take me to trips to like Portugal, and they're like, "Oh, this would be so much better going to Portugal." I was like, a 9-year-old doesn't want to go to Portugal over Disney. And then they're like, "It'll be good. We'll go walk through the garden. We'll go to the cafe." It was like enjoy the water. I was like, I don't want to do any of that. That sounds terrible. That sounds terrible. I don't really want to do it now as an adult. I don't want to walk through the garden. But as a 9-year-old, I didn't want to do that because I was the only child amongst adults all the time.
Right.
So
Now,
anyway, so that's how I
oh, so Mark, if people want to learn more about you and your work, it's so-called-living.com the best place they could go to, or do you have another place?
The so-called living, I'd say try so-called living on Instagram, because
Okay.
so-calledliving.com is a website that my wife, with very free time, because we have a newborn, she's trying to put this site together, but she's not a website designer. So I don't even know what program she used to put this together. She uses art and things I give her from like the Kickstarter that I've put
Right.
together, and like the photos I did when the book was originally launching. That's what you're looking at there. And
Right.
but yeah, the Instagram is kind of what I try to keep up to date on.
Right.
So this is like some updates. I try to share things here. So if you want to reach out to me or follow along with what's going on, Instagram's the best way. But I've been
Right.
so busy with all these side projects, I've also been doing a poor job of keeping up to date with this.
Right.
So I'm trying my best. There's a problem with being creative and having a lot of ideas, is kind of getting those ideas in order so you're not working everything at once. Because as much, even though that's what I do, I would not recommend it.
Right.
Don't
And,
recommend doing everything at once.
and also too, just to plug also your YouTube channel,
Yeah.
Board Game Coffee.
Yeah.
And that seems to be you update that on a regular basis.
Yeah, this year I haven't done that much. This year I've done like 5, maybe 6 videos because we
Right.
had the newborn. So I had to pull back on that. So I get a lot of requests for videos. So I get a lot of publishers reaching out to me to do like previews or how to plays and whatever. And I've had to turn a lot of them down because I want to spend more time with my family. Because now we have a toddler, now we have a newborn, and things are going kind of crazy. We have the book going on,
Right.
so I had to pull back a bit. To spend more time with the family, I kind of cut back on the board game coffee a bit, but I'll get back into it again next year.
Right. Yeah.
So I
Excellent.
actually I just uploaded an unboxing that's not live yet we did, and the only reason I did the unboxing is because my wife's cousin, good friend of mine, he he bought his first Kickstarter board game and he finally got it. And he was so excited. He's like, let's do an unboxing. I was like, okay, so let's do it. I was like, but how about you come on the show with me and I'll ask you about it because I know nothing about it. And it's based on Eve Online. It's called
Yeah.
Eve War for New Eden. It's a board game. I've never played Eve Online. I know very little about the game online. It's online version at all. Like it's video game version at all. And it's board game I knew nothing about. I didn't even know there was a Kickstarter out for it. When he told me, he's like, hey, I'm going to back Eve, the board game. And I was like, based on the video game? He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, all right. He's like, do you know if that's any good? I was like, I didn't even know that existed. So I have no idea. But I called people I knew who have like other reviewers who have played it, and they're like, yeah, it's good. So he backed it, and he's actually coming over on Saturday. We're having an all day Eve War for Eden board game day in the studio, which is there, which currently that table's covered in board games because I'm reorganizing my basement and I'm cleaning house and getting rid of a lot of board games and selling them. So I'm going to be selling them on Facebook Marketplace. Just got to start culling, right? Because it was like, there's games here. It's like, I've played. It's like, I don't really like you, or I'm not going to play you again, or I have no interest in playing you. Again, some
Right.
games that they were just sent to me to do like an Instagram post or to do a short video. And I was like, I have no interest. It's not really my type of game, especially when they're like party games. I'm not a
Right.
party game person.
Right. Yeah.
I've done party game videos and I've mentioned on my channel very much. I was like, I am not a party game person. And when people said, hey, do you want me to send you your party game, do reviews? I was like, well, we don't do reviews upon request. We definitely don't do them for pay. And if you want me to review a party game, I can tell you it's probably not going to go well. Because I don't really like them. So there's many reasons you don't want to send me a party game for a review. So there's a few I like. Like I like Code Names. I think Code Names is great.
That's fun. Yeah.
That's a fun one. But Cards Against Humanity is like, it gets old. It gets old fast.
Right.
I like more cerebral like
Yeah.
games. I love Terraforming Mars. I love like a good engine builder.
Right.
So
Yeah.
anyway, I'm rambling. We were talking about comics and somewhere cereal, now board games.
I tell you, man, it's a ride, hanging out with Mark. So yeah, always entertaining.
One thing I wanted to mention is if because I mentioned about what the story is about for people that haven't don't know anything about so-called living. The one thing that I want to mention, if you are familiar with the first 4 issues, which are available now, and if you've read that and you've backed or you're curious about the next 4, is the characters in the book will definitely be pushed to their limits, and you'll get to see like another side of them, no specifics, just kind of throwing broad things like you'll see a softer side to the hardened guys, the tough guys. You'll see a softer side of them. You'll see the braver side of the cowards. You'll see these more emotional connections. So it is a dark comedy. Now, that's the thing about So-Called Living. It's a dark comedy. So I have explained it as like the cast of Friends being hunted down by the cast of The Sopranos. And but when the mob gets close, there's nothing funny about the mob. They're very serious, very intense group of people in this book. So when they catch up with the Friends cast, which is basically Jack and his buddies, it gets really dark. So the mob takes things very seriously, and they get pushed into some really tight situations, and you're going to see different sides of these kind of like goofy guys that you've never seen before. It's like even when they get pushed into like serious situations, more so than being turned into a vampire, because in this world being turned into a vampire isn't the end of the world. So but when your friends are like in danger or like in real danger, then see how they react and how they come together and how they behave when they're thrown up against like these serious situations. So there's a lot of like dynamic character changing, evolution. There's a lot of evolution in the characters in the last 4 books. So, which I've really enjoyed writing because it was kind of fun to, the way they talk in the book is a lot how I talk. So taking them into these dark areas is kind of, it's fun to write. It gives me a different a, a, a different way to express myself.
Right.
So
Right.
I really enjoy it, and I really enjoy writing for the mob guys, like that intensity, and kind of putting my mind in this body of this guy that's a total dick and doesn't care about anybody, and how would he treat this. And I have one line in one of the comic books it's a placeholder, but is a very racist line. And I put it there as a placeholder because I need him to say something like that's callous and like it could be racist. That's fine because he's just throwing it off. He doesn't care, right? That's how he's supposed to be. It's kind of a Negan-esque line from Walking Dead, right? Like it's a very harsh, and I wrote in a very harsh racist line, but it doesn't make sense in the context of this world because race in this world is more the monsters, right? It's
Right.
more like yeah, there's still like, white, black, Indian, Chinese, whatever in this world, but that's not what matters. That's not what stands out. It's more like the fact that there's monsters. So if they're going to be racist against anything, it's going to be, you might not like vampires. You might have a hang up on how werewolves behave, or you have, like, oh, zombies and they're all the same, that kind of thing. So I took my real world racist line and I need to, before I actually send it to print, I need to correct it so that it's kind of like this in-world kind of racist line. And so I got to try to, I backed off a bit and I was like, I'll come back to it later. I know it's there because I'm going to read it again, but I need him to say something kind of like really nasty, but it's like, it's just a way of him talking. It's not even a main point. Everybody around just kind of ignores it because it's all his mob guys. They all kind of think the same. They're all assholes, but I really kind of paints what kind of character he is.
Right.
And I hope people don't read it and be like, that's the kind of character you are. Well, once I change it to like it being racist against like mermaids or whatever the hell it is, do you know what I mean? Then it'll be different. But right now, if people read it, they may be like, because I mentioned something about forest fairies in the first issue. And somebody thought that I was being homophobic. I was like, no, this is a world where forest fairies actually exist. and this tough guy vampire doesn't care for them. But that's his personality. It's not me. So in this situation, like I'm just waiting for the feedback and being like, he's racist. Like, I'm not. I'm not racist. This character is.
But this character, yeah.
It's not like I can put myself in the place of the most terrible person possible. As a writer, I'd like to, like, I think that's something that you have to do, is kind of put yourself, if you want to write the most terrible, like you want to write your Negans from Walking Dead, you kind of got to put yourself in that place and just kind of allow yourself to be that person and write the most terrible things if that's the person that they are. Right. So I hope as writers, like there's writers out there that feel free to be able to write like that, because I know, and I understand there's some people that we have different sensitivity levels. And a lot of people are like offended by a character like Negan. I keep bringing up the same character because he's popular and he's very out there. So he's very vulgar. So, from Walking Dead. So I thought I'd bring him up, but I think he's a great character. I think he's a terrible person, but he's a great character.
Right. And there's a difference between it, like you said. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's the thing. Like, I don't think Robert Kirkman is that person at all. So he just knows how to write a good character. And a lot of that you could take from like movies you've seen. It's not necessarily you kind of put yourself, it's like, okay, if I was Tony Soprano, you know what I mean? And I've seen enough of it, I can kind of like get into that role. But I understand if your mind's not wired like that, if you can't see putting yourself in a role that's not you, it's kind of like an actor mentality. If you can't do that, then you probably don't understand how somebody else can do that, right? It's kind of hard to understand how somebody else acts or thinks if you can't act or think that way, if you can't see yourself being in that position. So I get it. Right. So I don't take offense. I'm not really offended by that. But the only thing and if people don't want to write like that, that's fine. I take no offense against that. The only thing that always bothers me, as I've always been a creative person, is I don't like when people put rules to block people's creativity, especially when it's not hurting anybody. Like, I'm not saying like, I'm not supporting comic books that's all about hate speech and blah blah blah, over and over. Like the whole comic book, like that's the message that the comic book is trying to send. Like that's not what I'm talking about, right?
Right.
I'm talking about one character being a terrible person because we live in our world. There's terrible people,
Right.
and if I want to write a real world that's flushed out, I kind of got to bring those terrible people into my world.
Right.
And as long as the message is that's wrong, like the message is still that's wrong, right? But it's said like it's not like he says something terrible and all the characters like high five. Right? Way to go. Sorry, that was a bit of a ramble.
Yeah. So so I was gonna say, Mark, you have to come back on next time when you have your next so-called living series, because you mentioned it's all together basically now. And when can we buy it? When can we buy the whole series now?
People who back the Kickstarter will be like, I'm hoping to get books out in March. And the reason I pushed it further back than the other ones, because I have this, as I mentioned earlier, this collector's box, right? So whoever backed any physical tier on Kickstarter is getting this collector's box, which is like a clear sleeve with this glossy, beautiful box that has like all 8 issues fit in there. Right now, there's like repeated issues because I don't have all 8 issues printed. I only have 4. But they fit in here, and you get this box for free. And by the time anybody's watching this, the Fund My Comic page should be up. Like it should be going up live tomorrow. I have it ready. I'm just waiting for them to approve it. And on Fund My Comic, you'll be able to get there. It's pretty straightforward on Fund My Comic. It's like you get issues 1 through 8, and you pick whether you want like standard cover editions, the elite cover editions, or the sex pot cover editions. And I also offer the 1 through 8 digital. But obviously, if you buy the digital, you don't get a collector's box.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's going to be on Fund My Comic.
Okay.
And it's going to be there for a limited time. So it'll be there for like a month. So if anybody wants it, once we get a handle on things, we might open it up again on Fund My Comic as a storefront, but we're going to start looking at more distribution, other ways to get it. Like, do we put it on Amazon? So it's going to be around. So Fund My Comic is probably the best way to go. If you're watching this or listening to this, it's Fund My Comic is the best place to go now to get it. And it'll be live until December 18th.
Okay. Cool.
Which is the day after my birthday.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Excellent. So listen, thank you so much, Mark. I love catching up with you. This is fun. We got to do this more regularly.
Yeah, I apologize if I ramble. And I had a Red Bull before this, so it's like I blame it on the mind-altering substances that I can.